Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a chance to meet all the exhibitors and get your hands on some of those hands-on experiences we've been talking about today. Now, don't forget the exhibition and the experience zones will be open for another hour after the conference closes, so do make the most of your time here. I'd like to introduce the first guest, the second half of the conference, and that is Dr. Paul Redmond. Now, Paul is a pioneering researcher into Generation Y and the millennials. It didn't mean much to me before I got the script, to be honest, but I've hence found out that this is the generation who will soon become our future audience. So to find out more, here's Paul.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here. I hope you find this useful. What I'm going to do very briefly is give you a quick overview about my research. So I'm going to try and condense 10 years worth of research that's taken me all around the world to give you the pertinent points that you need to take away to give you an insight into your future audience. So I'm going to give you information about the future audiences who will be packing your events or not in years to come. But quickly, just to set the scene, what do we know? The world's changed dramatically over the last few years. For the first time, the baby boomers aren't calling the shots. A new generation is in charge, and it's called Generation X. More of them later. Economically, every baby born in the UK today is £20,000 in debt because of the credit crunch. And don't even go there if they're a Greek baby. Things have changed dramatically over the last few years. Socially, the workplace is far more complex than ever before. Okay, so the idea of work, the idea was that you were meant to start work when you were very young, and then you became a manager when you were really old, like 40. That was the idea. But of course, the workplace is far more complex than ever before. Technologically, I've been doing some research with primary age children at the moment, and they're causing chaos in schools because this is the first generation of humans that don't know how books work. When presented with a book, instead of turning the pages over, they go like that on the page. As one child said to the teacher, "Miss, this book needs recharging." So we've got a generation that is equipped with better IT skills than the teachers. My humble laptop, my Dell laptop at the university, has got more IT power than NASA used to send the astronauts to the moon. I'm trying to get it upgraded. It's too slow. So technologically, things have changed incredibly. And of course, demographically, for the first time, we have 5 generations working together in the workplace. Incredible. 5 generations, all trying to work together and communicate and get on with each other, and often failing to do so. I'm fascinated by this generational crunch that's happening. But in particular, what I'm fascinated about is the way organizations use certain words that they assume everyone understands. The problem is, even though we use the same words, generations interpret those words in a different way. To give you an example, for the last 5 years at the university, I've been studying a word. We can do things like this in universities. And the word I've been studying is a 14th century word, which hopefully will give you an idea about how the generational shift I'm talking about. This is the word I've been studying. Now let me tell you a brief history of the word whatever. Okay, so it first appeared in English in the 14th century. It means several things. Everything, anything, or a sign of perplexity, as in, whatever do you mean by that, sir? That was the meaning until the 1960s. West Coast Californian hippies discovered the word whatever, and they start using it as a sign of passive resistance, as in, whatever do you mean, dude, whatever, man, that sort of thing, in my Welsh accent there. That was the meaning until we think about the late 1990s, early 2000s, when teenagers discover the word whatever. Overnight, it becomes a weapon of mass derision. Teenagers start using this word in different contexts to reflect a different view. I first came across the new meaning of the word whatever when I was with my wife. We were queuing up to go into the Sistine Chapel in Rome. I don't know if you've been to the Sistine Chapel. You queue for hours and hours. Everyone's hot, everyone's tired, everyone's cultured out. And in front of us in this queue, there was a mother, a father, and a teenage daughter, a lethal combination. And just before they were ushered into the Sistine Chapel, the father was hit by what I call a dad moment. All fathers are susceptible to this. It's when you think to yourself, I must now say something of historic significance. And this man, this poor man, was hit by a dad moment. And he said, stop, to his daughter. So the whole queue stopped. So we're all listening. And he said, we're about to enter the Sistine Chapel. You're about to see the greatest works of art in Western civilization. What you're about to see is the best, the high point of Western culture. What did she say? to see a grown man cry in public. It's a terrible thing. But it made me realize that word whatever has different meanings for different generations. Now, my students say to me, oh, come on, you're not still going on about whatever. We don't use that word. It's so old-fashioned, LOL, which I thought was lots of love. They say we now use a different word. And I think it's because whatever, for a teenage boy, has got too many syllables. It's a conversation for a teenage boy. And the word they use is this word. I don't know if you've come across this. If you take this as a takeaway from my talk, and I said, this is amazing, meh. I said, when did this emerge? And they said, a few years ago. And I thought, there's a paper in this for me. And I said, where did you get it from? And they said, it's from Homer. And I thought, wow, they're reading the classics. And it's not even on the curriculum. Of course, it's Homer Simpson. But it made me realize that organizations, your organization today is using words which you assume every generation understands, but of course it's not the case. So, what do we know? Just quickly about the theory. Every generation is a new people. We know generations change every 25 years. Different generation, it sees the world in a completely different way. Karl Marx talked about it. He said, we're individuals, but we inherit conditions in which we live. So in other words, I can be an individual, but the way I view the world is shaped by the stuff that's going on while I'm growing up. My favorite quote is by Pt2, and he said, the key to ask is not how old people are, but when they were growing up. So in other words, it's the stuff that's happening while you're growing up. The music, the culture, the politics, the economics, the work-life pattern, all that gives you a certain view of the world, which for you is perfectly normal and sensible and obvious. It's just for other generations that it's a bit strange. I've been studying 4 generations over the last few years, and these are quickly the generations that I've been focusing on. Now, there is an older generation, can you believe it, than the baby boomers. And we call them the silent generation. They're the generation that would never, ever complain to a doctor. You can leave them in the corridor for weeks, months. They'll say, yes, doctor, whenever you're ready. I don't want to cause a fuss. They're the silent generation, the great generation. We've also, the generation that will complain that are the baby boomers. Do we have any baby boomers here today? You can be proud to be a boomer. Largest generation in history, confident, idealistic, sit up straight, do your homework, ideally sit at the front, take notes, get a qualification, invest in property. Boomers own 85% of all the property in the UK today. If you're Generation Y, you wonder why you can't afford a house, the boomers have bought everything. And in doing so, they've screwed up the economy for you from now on. Your only hope is to inherit, so keep in good terms with your parents. So the boomers, still there, they've shaped the world of work, the concept of the job description. Only the boomers believe their job descriptions. They're the ones who are clinging onto them. They're the ones who've screwed their job titles to the door, and they will not let them go. Boomers, again, turn up early. For the boomers, being early is a sign of goodliness. As Woody Allen said, anything can happen if you turn up to work. He could have added on time. So boomers, very, very important, gradually leaving the stage. Or they were until Lehman Brothers occurred, when they thought, maybe I'll give it a few more years to top up the pension. Boomers will probably be the last generation that will retire at 65. Again, sorry about that for future generations. So, baby boomers, still here, very important, shaped the world in which we live. Also, the soundtrack of the baby boomer life still shapes our world. My 16-year-old son said to me the other day, Dad, I've heard this great new band on iTunes. They're called Led Zeppelin. You want to download it? I said, I've got the LPs. He said, what's an LP? So, baby boomers still here. Confident, idealistic, optimistic. Do we have any Generation X here, by the way, today? Oh dear. Cynical, argumentative, disillusioned, haunted with disappointment. The middle generation, the crunch generation. This is the generation that is bearing the brunt of the credit crunch. When I've done research with Generation X, the one thing they constantly say is, I just need more time for me. I need more work-life balance. That's what they all talk about. Does that sound familiar? And the reason is because they were sold a myth in the 1980s that by now, because of computers, we'd all be bored. We'd have no work to do. And they kind of believed it in the 1980s. While listening to Kajagoogoo and stuff like that, they believed that stuff. Of course, it's not worked out like that. Generation X are going to be working easily till their 70s. And that's just to pay off the mortgage. So Generation X, the middle generation, cynical, don't talk to them about mission statements, value statements. They just roll their eyes and say, oh, come on, you don't believe that stuff, do you? In my research, they constantly say, when are the boomers going to retire? And for God's sake, why don't people tell Generation Y to turn up early and pull their jeans up? That's what they say. So, in the middle generation, children currently in school, for them, the key issue is work-life balance. I need more time for me. I just need more time saved for me. Generation Y, do we have any Generation Ys here with us? Oh, it's good of you to drop in this early in the morning. Thanks for popping in. I hope I'm not boring you. Text me. One of my students said to me, instead of coming to lecture, can't you just text me? And I said, well, it doesn't kind of work like that. And there are 400 of you, by the way. But Generation Y, idealistic, independent, they've got more academic qualifications than any other generation. They can't spell, but they've got lots of generation. They've got lots of qualifications. Crucially, their parents are baby boomers. And the baby boomers have this unique relationship. I wrote a paper for one of the national papers recently, and I called them helicopter parents. Baby boomers are helicopter parents. They hover over Generation Y, like a personal SWAT team. And intervening, making life decisions on their behalf. And Generation Y are quite happy with all that. I'm focused on Generation Y a bit more. Does anyone own any millennials? Does anyone possess 1 or 2 millennials? Then you'll know then why we call them the thumb generation. This is the first generation that will point with their thumbs. You watch. I do some work with mobile phone companies. Remember that word, mobile phone? And they said to me, we stopped producing manuals now. You know, for when you buy a new phone, we don't produce a manual. Baby boomers are up in arms saying, well, I can't work this. You know, what can I do? Where's the instruction book? And their advice is give your phone to a millennial and stand back. Let them get on with it. So they're the 4 generations I've been studying. The 4 generations that are going to have huge implications for your business. Just quickly, what do we need to know about these generations? Let's just focus on the baby boomers. Key issue, the key memory for the baby boomer generation was the NASA moon landing. That was the main thing. Wherever you are in the world, boomers will talk about where they were when this happened. They're incredibly loyal. Baby boomers kept Marks and Spencer's in business. Even when they had a rocky patch, I've always shopped at Marks and Spencer's, and I will carry on shopping at Marks and Spencer's. Very loyal, idealistic, visionaries. Only the boomers would sing All You Need Is Love and believe it. You know, when faced with global poverty, let's put on a pop concert called Live Aid. That'll do it, and we'll have a party. So very optimistic social capital. They know the neighbors, very positive, but they still are shaping the world of work. The conference, a typical conference, is a baby boomer construct. The idea that you go somewhere for a day all together, and someone like me sits ideally behind a lectern and talks at the audience. The audience sit there and take notes. That's cool. And then if you're really good for baby boomers, you give them handouts, okay? Because that's what they want. Unless I get a handout, then I've been somehow shortchanged. Even though I'll never read it, but as long as I get a handout, that's what I want. So the baby boomers are very, very traditional. Don't worry about the baby boomers as an audience, because they'll be there early in the morning and they'll be there the last thing at night. Unless, of course, they're school teachers, in which case a whole different world of rules apply. Generation X. Just quickly, all you need to know about Generation X. The key memory for them is walls literally coming down, the Berlin Wall literally coming down. Reactive, complex, cynical, as I talked about. They don't know their neighbors. X has had to move around and probably don't know their neighbors like the baby boomers are. They have no social capital. So they may as well stay at work, to be honest with you, because they've no life outside of work. The experimental, Generation X love mobile phones. They can't believe the miracle of the mobile phone. So you're saying to me, I can go home and I can do my emails? That's just amazing. All night, I can do my emails. That's superb. We call them digital immigrants. They started work before computers were readily available. And as a result, they had to teach themselves the language of computers. You can tell if you're a digital immigrant by the words. Again, going back to the words that you use. So digital immigrants will say, is that your new mobile phone? Is that your new mobile phone? Does anyone use that word, mobile phone? It's not a mobile phone. It's just a phone. For our students' generation, phones have never been plugged into anything. They've always been mobile. And while you're at it, what's this word, dial the number? What's all that about? We did some research and we found digital immigrants, if presented with a long email, like 3 paragraphs, they say, I can't read that on the screen. I have to print it off. I'll print it off. And then if it's really important, what will I do with that piece of paper? I'll file it. I'm the last person in the building with a filing cabinet, but I'll file this away because all this could break, but my computers will still be available. They also say things like digital camera. Is that your digital? It's just a camera. So the words, again, display whether you're a digital immigrant or in particular digital native. And that's what Generation Y is. They're constantly involved with technology 24/7. For them, computers are not technology. They're just stuff. If it's been around before you're born, it's not technology. It's just stuff. So, and for them, it's stuff. Eco-friendly, brand-aware, challenging, lifestyle-orientated. One person said to me in the research, the trouble with work, I've discovered, is that it ruins your social life. Yeah, it kind of does. Meaning seekers, what they're looking for is authenticity. And of course, as I said, for them, they're digital natives. This computer technology is with them all the time. When they go to work, what are they going to have? The ubiquitous information technology, stuff that no other generation of human beings has ever had, they've got in their pocket. And that's an incredibly empowering situation. This information is going to be about everything from anywhere, available anytime, at unlimited speed, and practically available for free. It's going to make it incredibly easy to do things like this: collaborate, connect, copy, codify, and export. And again, it's all available for them practically for free. And they've never known life without it. They're going to work in jobs that don't exist, for organizations that don't yet trade, producing stuff that we don't yet know we need, with people who they'll never meet. I'm fascinated about this because what I'm going to argue is that this technology isn't neutral. It shapes the way we see ourselves in the world. This is my son with his friend having a nice social event in Costa Coffee. When I saw the picture, I said to him, Tom, I don't want to be old-fashioned, but you're all texting on your mobile phones. And I said, who are you texting? He said, each other. So for them, it's constant to be online, and with this technology, it's a constant opportunity. There's even now clothes that designers are producing that rebound Wi-Fi. So you wear these clothes and you can't actually get access to the internet. And people are thinking about buying them for digital natives because it's the only way we're going to wean them off this technology. And you can buy lots of different makes. If you're interested in purchasing any of this, it's available for your teenagers. Again, you'll see things like this everywhere people go. They're online, they're texting, and it's a permanent situation for this generation. And what I'm going to argue is it has a profound implication for the business that you're in. Just to give you an example, this is the inauguration of the Pope in 2005, Pope Benedict. If you look in the corner, there's one person there on their phone, and here's the latest inauguration. Do you see the difference there? You notice any differences? So suddenly, for this generation, the idea that being online, taking my own view, being an active collaborator is absolutely essential. From my research, I've concluded people have gone from being consumers of this technology to prosumers, producers and consumers at the same time. And it's happened over the last few years, and it's not going to go away. So that's all I'm going to say for the time being. This information, this research has profound implications for the business that you're in. But I hope that gives you a useful overview for now. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul. Now we have something exciting in store for you, which involves saying goodbye to Paul for a short while.
Thank you.
Paul, on the script, I'll just bring to your attention this. It says, please leave with a sneaky look on your face, as if stealing yourself from the stage, in brackets, take big steps.
Right, I'll do so.
You're very
Thank
lucky.
you.
You're nearly at the end of the stage,
Thank
so
you.
I'm going to let you off.
Thanks so much.
Just to remind you, the Slido is still running, so if you have any questions for this next presentation, keep asking them via Slido. Now, we've established that the future of conferencing is going to be very different and a lot more interactive going forward. And we're going to illustrate this to you now in an incredible way. But just going off on a tangent for a brief second, I'm sure you've all noticed these lovely chairs you're sitting on, lovely swivel chairs that have been sponsored by the Funky Furniture Hire Company and Central Hall, Westminster. I would like you to swivel said chairs 90 degrees to your left right now, and you will hopefully see yourself facing Kirsha Woodgate, who is Managing Director of Mexia Communications on the holographic stage. Are you there, Kirsha?
I am.
She's there.
See shortly as we're going to do the stage what that's actually going to look like in terms of projecting an actual holograph. But the key thing for me is that this is enabling you to view a holograph without the need for 3D and special glasses, which some of you may use for similar TVs. Some of you may be aware of recent developments in holographic performance, such as many of you might have heard of Michael Jackson performing, if you like, by a holograph recently last month at the Billboard Music Awards. For me, holographs really are the stuff of science fiction, and my first encounter with a holograph was as a young girl given my age range, when I first went to see Star Wars at the movie, and I watched a very tiny holographic Princess Leia projected out of Pt2. So for me, it's a real privilege today to actually experience firsthand this technology. There are lots of potential uses for holographic technology, not only in the entertainment business, from performances to movies, but obviously the audience here today are all professional event organisers. So thinking in terms of how this might be used in events in the future, for me a simple way of describing it might be video conference on steroids. Imagine a scenario where your CEO and one of your speakers, perhaps a panel, might be projected live into an event. And it really does open up some amazing possibilities for bringing different speakers and different content into your events. In the world of performance, there are also talks about bringing back different musicians to have live tours, and I think could be potentially very exciting viewing indeed. So what's happening right now is Dr. Beverly is being wired up, so there is a need for kind of being positioned in the right place to use the technology appropriately, and then that will get sort of beamed up into another reciprocal technology at the other end. So there is a need for technology at both ends to make this work. And I think it's almost work.
He is indeed, Kesha. I think we're ready to welcome Paul back to the stage, if that's correct. Any second now.
Hello. Hopefully you can all see Paul there, very good smiling at you. Fascinating talk there, Paul. Some really interesting insights into how different generations behave and how perceptions change, even down to individual language and words. Why do you think research is so popular in businesses today?
I think organisations have realised that the generational shift has taken place so quickly that there's a major issue in terms of how people communicate, how they behave, how they respond. I think again across most organisations have the realisation that there's not just one dominant generation, but there's a whole range of them working together using different words, responding to technology in a different way. I think most organisations are certainly realising we've got to do something about this. Traditionally, there would be a 2-week induction that everyone would go on, but I think what we've noticed from our research that we need to make that much more generation specific, even down to the words that we use.
And then just thinking about people in the room today, and how do you think this could be specifically useful to those who work in conference events?
Well, it struck me when I did some research on the history of conferences and events, it made me realise just how much the baby boom generation shaped this industry. The idea of the traditional event when people come along and sit quite passively, that really has shaped the way we assume we understand these events. What's made me realise though is how different generations respond to different conferences. When we've been looking at what people want from events, it's quite interesting to see how different generations expect different sort of services and provision and technology. So I think in some ways there's an awful lot that the research could do for conference and event planners in terms of helping them make their events much more generationally targeted.
You referenced a few different ideas. Are there any particular experiences, one word just stuck out in my mind, where you approach students that are moving out of the producer and consumer? Is that something you think conference organisers need to embrace, particularly more being involved in producing content, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. In particular for Generation Y, what we found is that they don't want to just come along and sit in an event, talked at by someone like me, a lecturer. What they want is to be engaged in a much more organic way. They want to help shape the programme, shape what happens during the day. They want to be able to engage using technology. But crucially, and this is where our research found something that we weren't expecting, what they really value is face-to-face contact. Even though they're digital natives, what they're looking for is a chance to be able to work with people themselves. So for them, face-to-face contact equates to high-value proposition. They want to make maximum use of that. What they don't want to do is just sit in an audience for a long stretch of time. They're happy to do it for some time, but they really want to engage and shape and, as I said, collaborate and collaborate.
I think that's probably going to be useful to the ears of many people here who have been fair to say having some concerns over technology perhaps fitting into the new face-to-face events and conferences, and certainly what I personally would have thought. But others say that that's not the case at all. It's a case of enhancing communication and adapting. From our students and In terms of receiving communications then, are there sort of hints and tips about how different generations like to receive communications information?
Yeah, we did some research looking at how to communicate more effectively to different generations. The baby boomers, I mean, things on paper make still a big difference to the baby boomers. It's sort of associated with value. They're probably the last generation that will really things that come to them. So they want things to get paper. They're quite happy with online email, but I think for them in many respects they're still looking for a conference brochure, conference booklet. For Generation X, remember, it's all about convenience, it's all about saving me time. So anything that can make their lives much more convenient and help them have more work-life balance makes a big difference. We found Generation X love email. They like PDFs, they like information sent to them, they like handouts sent to them online. But they're looking for what can save me time, how can this be as time effective as possible. What we found with Generation X, instead of going for a full day event, they're looking in particular for short-term events, things that they can go back to work.
More bite-sized chunks.
Absolutely, it's got to be quick. The cars are on the other lines, the kids are screaming, I just need something to help me get on with it. Generation Y, again, it's that person-friendly. How can I meet people? How can I network? What they're looking for is how can I build my network? How can I meet people who are interested in and further my career and my opportunities? So anything that involves networking opportunities is really popular with Generation Y.
Okay, some interesting points there. And then just sort of to close off then, we've seen in the audience today we have different generations represented. How can conference organisers make sure that their events are suitable for different generations? Or where do you find any advice you give there?
I mean, I think what's always useful is when you look at the programme, almost try and do a generational audit. And that's something we've done at the university. We can help you with that. Try and audit it from a generational perspective. In particular, check out the words that you use when selling the event. And, as I talked about, whatever. It's quite interesting was to get Generation Ys to mentor the baby boomers. Now that causes quite a bit of stir when you suggest that in an office, but it can yield some really interesting results. So try and audit it from a generational perspective, and I think that's always a good way to make sure the event attracts people, not just from one generation, but a cross-section.
Fantastic, some wonderful insights and hopefully some useful tips for the audience to share there. I'm just going to go really quickly to Slido and check out one or two questions before closing up. I've had a request to touch the hologram, please. So I hope this doesn't mean I get beamed up somewhere. How's that?
Where did you touch me?
They haven't introduced sensors yet.
I feel violated.
Okay, well, there's some other content here which we'll probably need to go back and answer on the Slido after the event. It's been amazing to have this experience. I'm a bit of a geek and I love technology, so this is a wonderful first for me. I have to say it's slightly surreal experience because you guys out there in the audience can see Paul here. I can't. So actually it would be really nice to say hello properly in person if you can make your way out here, Paul.
Thank
we
you.
hope he's still in the room and not somewhere far afield. Ta-da!
Ta-da.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I think what we're going to do now is make use of these wonderful swivel chairs yet again and just sort of turn right back around to the main stage, and I shall hand over to Joe to finish off with the final sessions and closing. Thank you.
Thank you so much there. Thank you to Kirsha. Thank you to Paul. And really well done to them. I mean, they both spoke to each other there without seeing where each other was. The eye contact was there. Incredible. Now, amazing to have had this technology rigged up right here and now. So thank you to Musion and to Eclipse Presentations for making it all possible. It was no mean feat, as I'm sure you can imagine. Yeah, I think so. It really is incredible to see what's around the corner in terms of technology. And if you want to speak to Musion or to Eclipse, they'll be available until 2:15 in the Great Hall foyer. So do go and have a chat with them there. It brings us nearly to the end of Meet the Future. Just have one final guest to introduce you to, and that is David McClelland. Now, you may recognise David as the Golden Girls technology expert from BBC One's Rip Off Britain. You might know him as the gadget guru from Challenge TV's Planet of the Apps. He's a long-standing technology journalist, and I'm delighted to have him here today to share his thoughts on where this technology will take us in the not-too-distant future.
Thank you very much, Joe. I have to say, love the holography on stage just then. That is absolutely amazing. So, thank you very much. Hope you all had a terrific day so far. Now, my job, I'm a technologist, and it's my job to kind of get excited about technology, and by and large, I do. So I'm really excited to have seen so many technologies today that have been applied to very specific use cases in the events industry. But sometimes there's this thing about technology for technology's sake, and my wife kind of picks me up on this every now and then, and she says, look, what's it for? What does it actually do for me? And if I can't explain to her in 140 characters or less or whatever, then either I've failed or the product has failed. But I'm going to stick a stake in the ground and say, actually, technology for technology's sake can be very important. Because what I want to leave you with today is this thing about technology combining with other technologies, and that's when things get really interesting. And the McKinsey Global Institute did a paper last year on disruptive technology. Absolutely fascinating. And there's 12 headline disruptive technologies that they talk about. Those is this: combinations of technologies multiply impact. And that's what I want to talk about today, picking up on literally a couple of things that we've already covered, already looked at in a little bit of detail. Maybe some of you have been hands-on or eyes-on, to give you a bit of a clue as to what I'm going to be talking about, upstairs and in the experience pods. But looking at maybe some ideas that might inspire you to take some of the technologies today and do something different with them in your events. So, in this spirit of the mashup, as I like to call it, two technologies that, again, when people first saw them, people might have said, oh, it's cool technology, but what's it actually for? So, you can see the first one here. It's a Segway. Now, these have had a questionable degree of success. If anyone hasn't seen one of these, then it's like a motorized self-balancing scooter, and you stand on them and you get taken around. They've been, I say, questionably successful because of legal things. Basically, is it a car? Are you a pedestrian when you're wearing this? What about the insurance? So, yeah, cool technology, but it hasn't been picked up as much as you would have liked. The next technology, obviously not to scale. This is the iPad. Now, again, when this first came out, and I'm going to stick my hand up, I was one of these people, there was a lot of skepticism, perhaps, as to what's it actually for. It's just a big iPhone. You can't even make a telephone call with it. What's the point? Bringing this back to the events conferencing industry. What happens when we start mixing these two technologies together? Now, if I were a workplace psychologist, I'd probably describe myself as something like a sociable worker. Events, conferences for me, obviously it's about getting all the content in and confirming my ideas and learning new things. But one of the real values for me, and it's a thought that's been echoed across most of the sessions that we've had here today, is the social interaction. Okay, it's the chatting with David, who I have been sitting next to today. I've learned a lot from him. I wouldn't have had that if I was on an online event platform necessarily. It's queuing up for the coffee. There was Peter, who I spoke to earlier on, down from Winchester, wherever you are, Peter. Terrific to meet you earlier on. It's all of these social interactions that no online platform for me yet has been able to replicate. So, what do? We mash these two together, and we come up with this, which is the double telepresence robot, here with Dmitry Grishin, who is, he helped to fund all of this. This is from a recent feature in Wired. And you can see what's going on here. There's these basically Segway-like devices on the bottom, and that is an actual iPad running an app on top. Let's take a bit of a look if the video is going to work for me. Come on, PowerPoint, you can do it. Yes! So you can control it simply using your iPad or a PC or a Mac or whatever. And here we go, in you come. Time for a meeting. Now, I've been to a conference where these are in use, and there's an initial sense of novelty because it's like, wow, what is this thing? After that wears away, you're chatting to a person, and the person is chatting to you, albeit through an iPad screen. But there's no pretense of a kind of humanoid thing here. It's very, very simple, deliberately so. And this means that you can be pretty much anywhere in the world without leaving your living room. We've been talking about telepresence on and off today, and obviously we saw the terrific holography just then. That's brilliant, I think, if you're a speaker and need to be at an event that physically you can't be at. But what about if you're a delegate? That's where technology like this comes in. You can buy this today. You can buy this from the Apple Store. Just go on there. It's a couple of £1,000 at the moment, but the prices will come down. And again, you can change your height. It's very, very exciting. And again, two technologies which initially probably a little bit questionable. When you bring them together, brilliant. By the way, I should say that the iPad is no longer a questionable technology, obviously. It's kind of hastened the demise of the PC, but that's another story. Okay, moving on. Now, I've been writing about augmented reality, virtual reality for years. And there's a technology which has kind of become the poster boy of the gaming world, if you like, and that's Oculus Rift. Here we go. Now, I'm a big fan of technologies that kind of move me physically, give me kind of a reflexive actions, like the video earlier on we saw of the guy in the self-driven car going absolutely crazy when hurtling around these corners. As you can see, this guy here is, he's been pretty moved by this as well. Again, if you don't get a chance to go on this upstairs, then please, please do. Now, the genius behind this, in a way, is that it uses commodity smartphone components, basically, which means that in the past, if you wanted a virtual reality experience, making for training or for a kind of experiential thing at a conference, you're looking at thousands, tens of thousands of pounds for a just bespoke piece of kit. This here, the Oculus Rift DK1, there's now a development kit 2 version that's come out. You can buy that for a couple of £100, which is a complete game changer. But not going to stop it there. Oh, sorry, one thing I should say, Religion on Contact. John Carmack, the CTO of this company, describes the first time you put on this technology, it completely converts you. Again, try it if you can. It's converted quite a few people, myself included, including Mark Zuckerberg, who liked it so much he bought the company. £1.2 billion. Thank you very much. Now, it's not just about gaming, obviously, although it has been like this gaming poster child. Experiential stuff at events. So upstairs, Google Glass, Oculus Rift, people queuing up just to get hands-on. There's a whole load of curiosity about this. I go to a number of events, it's my job, but the queues that I see around booths just because someone can try on this virtual reality headset for the first time, it's amazing. The best one that I tried, it was a skydiving experience, and I was laid prostrate on this table wearing one of these things on my face, and they had wind blowing into my face. And again, really made me feel as though I was skydiving. Now, what I want to talk about is what Oculus Rift does, but it has lowered the bar. But bringing it back to the events industry, I think we can lower the bar even further. So this is Durovis Dive. I was at the Wearable Technology Conference in London 6-7 weeks ago, and I was introduced to a new class of device. This looks very much like the Oculus Rift. Here's another version. I've tried a prototype of this on. I think this was Kickstarter funded. Now, what you can see from this picture is there's something a bit different, because that's a smartphone in there. Okay? So what they've done is they've realized that the foundational technologies behind virtual reality, behind augmented reality as well, are all contained, it's actually on my desk, on my chair, all contained within your smartphone. You've got a high-definition screen. You've got movement sensors. You've got processing power. You've even got an app store and a very mature platform upon which to develop apps. So what does that mean? Basically, what you do is you load an app onto your phone. If you've got YouTube on your phone, you can already watch thousands upon thousands of 3D videos. Pop your phone into this device, and then you start having fun. You start experiencing something. Now, this device here, I should add, costs next to nothing because all the technology is already in all of your delegates' pockets. okay? All that is a strap, something to hold your phone, and a couple of plasticky lenses that mean you can see your phone when it's that far away from your face. Now, let's talk about apps for a second. A lot of conferences have apps. Hey, we've got an app here. So we've already got a really interesting platform with which to get delegates to engage, to share, and to experience, okay? So, I don't want to go there. I've still got another point. I thought I had another video there. Now, there's a camera in the front here. And this is, again, where things get really exciting. We looked at Google Glass earlier on, very interesting Slido presentation. This camera means that this isn't just virtual reality, taking me to another place altogether. It's augmented reality. I tried a demo of this with a simple Samsung Galaxy Note 2. I put on the headset, and I was exactly where I am. Okay, looking at a slightly pixelated version of it, but it worked absolutely fine. And then someone put a little bit of cardboard on the floor. And all of a sudden, there was a sofa there. And I could walk around the sofa. And it was my own smartphone that was doing this. And I just want to invite you to think about what the potential there is for events and for conferences, where you're not, if you want people to, either at a booth or in the main event, if you want people to engage, explore, get augmented information back, then this is an incredibly cheap and efficient way of doing that, because these headsets, they cost pounds. All of the content is there in your smartphones. I'm completely out of time. I only had 10 minutes to talk. There's loads more that I could talk about, but I guess the point is technology isn't about square pegs and square holes. It's about being creative, and I think that by mixing some of these technologies together, as we just talked about, then really the world's your oyster. No longer is the technology necessarily a barrier. It's about our own imaginations. It's about engaging with the different generations, as however you want to slide that. But I think that just by taking some of these ideas about bringing different technologies together, there's a whole load of potential that you guys can offer to your delegates. And I can't wait to try out something like the Durovis Dive or whatever at an event, one of your events, very soon. That's all I've got time for. Joe's on the stage to hurry me along.
Thank you so much. You're obviously fascinated with technology and fired up with it. I love it. What have you seen here today that has surprised you or you particularly enjoyed?
Well, I have to talk about the holograph there. Absolutely amazing. And again, it was interesting that they brought up the kind of R2-D2 Princess Leia parallel, because I was kind of expecting it to be like that, but it was like he was really in the room. And I don't know about you guys, but again, after a few moments, I forgot that it was a holograph. It was just two people having a conversation. And I guess that's the point. There's the initial excitement about it, the same as, you know, with the telepresence robot that we just saw on the screen there. But after a while, you forget about the technology, and that's kind of the important thing. It's about these engagements that we're having with each other. It's about the content that we're getting from the presentation.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We are running out of time, unfortunately. Could continue to speak forever and ever, but...
Thank you very much.
It just leaves me time now to announce the winner of the Oculus Rift competition on Slido. I mean, most of you got the question right. So I'll be honest, all the delegates' names have gone into the draw. And if I look behind me now, we should be about to go back to Slido, if I'm right. And yes, there's all the names whizzing around. I am going to say stop now. And the winner of the night at the St. Ermins Hotel is Georgie Dronfield. Georgie, are you in here? Excellent. We'll get someone from the team to come and sort that out with you now. And yeah, have a lovely evening. It might seem kind of old-fashioned to offer a nice stay in a hotel, doesn't it? You know, you're doing it really just sitting there in a hotel, enjoying a dinner, but please do have a great time. That is all we've got time for today. I hope you found it as illuminating as I have. I really do. And I hope you've made some really interesting connections via these fabulous badges. All the information is already logged. You don't need the badges themselves anymore. So if you can drop them off in the bins provided in exactly the same place you picked them up when you arrived, that'd be absolutely brilliant. A big thanks to our host for the day, Central Hall, Westminster. A big thanks to the creator of this event, Maria Chouet, who's somewhere in the room. She has done a marvellous job and sourced some incredible speakers for us all, I'm sure you'll agree. And a big thanks to our speakers, to our exhibitors, and to all you guys for turning up today. Thank you so much. Our main sponsor was Eclipse Presentations. They've done remarkably well. There's been such a lot for them to do here. They've sorted out the audio visuals, the stage set, and even my welcome video, which you may have seen when you walked up the stairs when you arrived here. And thank you also to Kudos, who provide lunch for you today. I don't know if you managed to indulge in the DIY waffle station. I did. It was absolutely marvellous. We've thrown lots of information at you today. If you missed any of it, if you want to hear it a second time, then this session has been recorded and the majority of this content will be available to stream online shortly. So do keep checking in on that. Just leaves me time to say goodbye, really. It's been a pleasure hosting this event. I have got so much out of it, I tell you. Don't forget, this place is open until 2:15. Go out there, fill your boots, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.